Welcome back, everyone. For the most part, the religion of Islam does not guarantee any sort of certainty with respect to one's eternal destiny. This is developed well in the Hadith, where it said that some may do the deeds of a believer all their lives and nearly enter paradise, only to be blocked by Allah's decree. Muhammad also countered a person who asserted Allah's favor on someone who was recently deceased, saying, "Even though I am an apostle of Allah, I do not know what Allah will do with me." On the more popular level, I've never known a Muslim man to claim certainty of paradise, and Muslim women have even less of a chance. So just do your best and hope for the best. However, there is a problem when the same religion that does not offer certainty of paradise also goads its adherents onto jihad. Fighting can result in dying, and who would willingly die for an outcome that they aren't certain of? There's an uncertainty of one's eternal destiny, and it seems to undermine the ideology of jihad. Fortunately, the authors of the Quran had this one figured out, with just the type of verse that has inspired countless Islamic terrorists over the years, including the recent New Orleans attack. Surah 9:111 reads, "Truly God has purchased from the believers their souls and their wealth in exchange for the garden being theirs. They fight in the way of God, slaying and being slain. It's a promise binding upon him in the Torah, the Gospel, and the Quran." Notice what this verse promises. The gardens of paradise are guaranteed by the Quran's God for those who give their souls and wealth fighting for him, slaying and being slain. In a religion that does not offer certainty regarding one's eternal destiny, there it is. Finally, Allah has granted certainty of paradise through violence. The great commentator Ibn Kathir says Allah's statement, "They fight in Allah's cause, so they kill and are killed," indicates that whether they were killed or they kill the enemy or both, then paradise will be theirs. He then refers to a couple of hadith to support his interpretation, like this one. Muhammad said that Allah guarantees to the person who carries out jihad for his cause, and nothing compelled him to go out but the jihad in his cause and believe in his words, that he will either admit him to paradise or return him with reward from the battle. Notice the guaranteed outcome. If you fight in Allah's cause, you will either go to paradise, of course, if you die, or if you don't die, you will return, enjoying the spoils of battle. And yeah, both of these rewards involve women. The Quran and Hadith repeatedly affirm that Muslim men can have intercourse with female captives of war. On the other hand, if you die during battle, enter the Quranic verse that has animated the imaginations of Muslim men for centuries and rightly drawn much scorn of critics. If you die, waiting for you in paradise are those large-breasted virgins of the Quran, chapter 78. And that is how Allah promises paradise to the believers. You can be a good little Muslim doing all the things you're supposed to do, but maybe Allah has decreed hell for you, but die fighting in Allah's cause and get his guarantee, women and all. However, there are several reasons to think that Allah's promise of paradise is not only deeply incoherent, but demonstrably false. Here are just a few problems. To start, why the promise of paradise for those who die during jihad? Why not guarantee paradise for all believers? Perhaps because that would undermine jihad as well. On the one hand, if all believers are guaranteed paradise, then why go through the trouble of fighting for it? On the other hand, if no believers are guaranteed paradise, then why go through the trouble of fighting for it? Allah's promise of paradise strikes a balance suspiciously catered toward motivating violence. It's difficult to determine if Allah's ultimate goal for his followers is paradise in the afterlife or violence here on earth. Also, Allah's promise is deeply theologically incoherent. If any Muslim can enlighten me in the comments section, I would love to hear a coherent explanation of how, among so many virtuous actions a Muslim can do, it's spilling your blood on the battlefield that guarantees paradise. What exactly is the connection between violence and your soul? Next, in an already deeply misogynistic religion, Islam's God shows himself to be misogynistic again. The rewards of fighting are flanked again with promises of women, whether captives of war on earth or Allah's specially prepared virgins of paradise. Allah's promises are again made to entice men. Also problematic is Muhammad's view toward women who are inferior and therefore have less of a chance of entering paradise. However, historically, it's men who primarily fight, so men who already have a better chance of paradise than women are further enticed to paradise with a promise of Allah's virgins, who are so much better than the Muslim women here on earth, who don't have much of a chance of making it there anyway. It's as if Allah's earthly female creation isn't really worth the trouble. The whole belief system is written by misogynists for misogynists. There's little wonder Islam is so misogynistic. Finally, an insuperable problem with Allah's promise is that it is ignorant of the Torah, Gospel, and history. Note that this verse claims that the same promise is contained in the Torah and Gospel. This verse is dead wrong in spite of centuries of Muslim mental gymnastics regarding the Quran's various claims about the Bible. The promise of paradise for fighting, sultry virgins and all, is Islamic. It is not biblical. The Quran attempts to recreate the Bible in its own image and fails spectacularly. Such ignorance is also on display in Surah 61, where, again, in the context of struggling for Allah with one's life and being guaranteed paradise, the Quranic Jesus is given as an example. Apparently, the Quran wants us to think that Jesus and his disciples waged jihad as well. In these verses, the Quran ignorantly attempts to link its encouragement toward violence to prior biblical precedent. Now, Muslims have spent an extraordinary amount of time deep in fortified echo chambers concocting ridiculous theories about why the Quran's statements about the Bible don't match what the Bible actually says. But no amount of irresponsible nonsense emanating from the Muslim world on this issue does anything to vindicate their scriptures. This is another striking example of how the Quran's author did not know the books he claimed to know. Allah's promise of paradise is both incoherent and ignorant, yet it's been the motivation for violence for centuries, and this seems unlikely to change. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.